right, aloha friends. Brian Gossett with GM Sports Media. This is another episode of Game Time with the Goss, powered by Great Wolf Promotions. For some of the best t-shirts and fan gear, go check them out at greatwolfpromotions.com. My guest today is Allison Camp, the head volleyball coach at Hockaday, and just coming off a SBC 4A state championship for the second straight year, and also Hockaday's third title overall in the last four seasons. Allison, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So yeah, over the weekend, you guys beating St. John's out of the Houston area in straight sets for that state championship. Let's just start there. Talk about the win and just all the things your players executed to give St. John's some trouble.
Yeah. It was a really fun match. We knew that that was probably going to be what ended up happening in the finals if we made it there. But to be honest, they got better every set. They kind of struggled a little bit at the beginning, and we took advantage of that, kind of kept pedal to the metal and foot on the gas as much as we could there to score as many points as we possibly could. They got a little bit better as we went. The third set ended up being a lot closer than the first two sets did. I had a second of being nervous, but knew that the girls were confident in kind of what our game plan was and all of those things. But what we really talked about with them was getting out of system. They had some pretty powerful attackers when they can force the ball to the middles pretty good, and then an outside that could kind of put balls away regardless of where she was in the front row. Our game plan kind of all year, but definitely in that match specifically, and something I continued to hit on in between sets and then in timeouts, was we have to win serve and pass. If we can serve to a point where they're out of system, we work out of system so much in our gym. I know that we're better out of system. I would pick us out of system over anyone. I would pick my defense over anyone. So knowing that kind of we were trying to put as much pressure on them from the service line as possible to make sure that they were not in system, knowing that they're going to go take big swings. They're going to score on those in system balls just the way that anyone will, but trying to put the pressure on them to be out of system as much as possible so that we can be in system. Because again, I'll pick my in system over anyone else's. I'll pick my defense over anyone else's as long as we're doing kind of what we need to do. So they did a really good job executing that. And I was really proud of them to kind of watch it all come to fruition there at the end.
A little different perspective for your part, last year as an assistant and then this year as head coach. Was there any transition or did it feel different? And then just what does it mean to get, that first as a head coach?
Yeah, I would say definitely a little bit of a transition in the beginning. I work at Hockaday full time, so I'm able to kind of see almost every single one of my athletes every day, kind of in school in a different light, and then also on the volleyball court. And all of them, outside of the freshmen, this is obviously the only role that they know me in, but they all kind of knew me as the support, the one to go to ask the questions, kind of the more of the support system, I guess, than the one who's going to lay down the law. I think that was always kind of Coach Gass's job as the head coach, and I was there to support and offer feedback and kind of keep them positive and kind of be there to offer that other side of that. And so we had a conversation at the beginning of the season about how, my role is going to change, and kind of the respect and like the different level of communication that's going to need to be had between them and me as I kind of transition into this role. Our assistant coach, Coach Adrienne Johnson, was on our staff last year as one of our middle school coaches. And ended up coming with us to all of the postseason matches, a lot of our end of conference, end of SBC matches last year. So the girls were familiar with him as well. He has an extensive background as a really successful coach, knows the game really well, and kind of offers the more, I think, intense coaching perspective. He is, I think, a lot more intense and harsh, I think, than I am. So that kind of aspect of the game was still there. They were just getting it from the assistant coach rather than from me. But I think, again, the girls did such a good job, all of them, kind of allowing me time to settle into my new role and understanding that there was going to be things that looked different this year because of that. But kind of stepping up to that. I'll remember this year forever. It was so rewarding to to kind of see it again come to fruition in the way that it did. And regardless of who was their coach, this group had like the talent and the capability and the leadership to do it. I'm honored that it was me that was there for it and that I kind of got to be a part of it, and that they were willing to kind of buy into what I was selling and the defensive system we were running, the offensive system we were running, all of those things, and kind of continue the culture that has made Hockaday volleyball so special. So they bought into that, and the kids deserve all of the credit. I'm grateful I was along for the ride. It was really fun.
You kind of mentioned the tradition there at Hockaday. Again, the last 4 years, taking home 3 state titles. What is it about volleyball at Hockaday?
Yeah. To be honest, I would say outside the things that we do off the court and the way that this group is bonded together is what makes our group so special. The second that anyone makes Hockaday varsity volleyball, there is a sit down conversation about the family culture of this team, the respect that will be had for one another, the amount of time that it's going to require to spend together, both on the court, obviously, to get comfortable with each other, but off the court as well. I think Hockaday as a school does such a good job kind of establishing that culture of support and like the valued relationships. But I've never seen a program, I've never seen a team that thoroughly wants to spend this much time together and is seeking team dinners and things outside of practice and going to college games together and going to dinner together and doing sleepovers and trying to do extra matches. I mean, this group wants to be together. And that goes for, I mean, this was my 6th season at Hockaday, and all 6 seasons that culture has grown tighter and tighter and become kind of more of a family culture every year. I think that started with how Coach Goss, my predecessor, like established the culture that he was going to request of them, and then continued every year with the leadership. I mean, we had my first year, the class of 2020, we had incredible players. We had players that were Under Armour All-Americans going to the next level. We've had a ton of successful players going to play in college, but I think their leadership stands out more than their skill, just the way that, again, they've bought into that culture and known that when they're taking on the role of being a captain of Hockaday volleyball, it means taking on the role of planning all those extra activities, making sure that they are taking that seriously as to the respect that their teammates demand, the respect that our entire program demands of each other, the relational level, the conversations that we're all going to have. The more that those things can be strong and that we can strengthen those things, the better the volleyball is going to get with time. So I think just kind of growing that leadership and making sure that the captains, as well as the youngest freshmen on the team, know that this is a family culture, and regardless of winning and losing and SBC titles or not, we're a group of people that are planning to be in each other's lives for a long time, regardless of volleyball. So that's kind of what makes it special.
Awesome. Talking to Allison Camp, Hockaday volleyball coach. Another transition you kind of had to take on this season is trying to replace Avery Jackson, who graduated last year, now at Stanford. Sort of a once in a generational type player for any program. I think she finished top 5 in DFWs with over 700 kills last year. But you did have, key returners back. Just how did you kind of fill her shoes and, talk about some of the returners and maybe some newcomers that were able to sort of step up in her trying to replace her?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a kind of a big conversation that we had with the team at the beginning of this year. Was obviously losing Avery is big, losing Bennett was big. We lost a lot of players that made huge impacts on the court. We also lost a lot of seniors who didn't see the court a lot, but brought a lot of value to our team in other ways. So having that conversation early on of, it is no one's job to replace someone. You all need to be yourselves, and that's why you're here. It was a conversation. I think Olivia Wayne, who was our one of our 6 rotation outside this year, also a 6 rotation outside last year. She's probably, I think, the name that most people know on our team, and was kind of who I think everyone was expecting to be kind of like the replacement of Avery. I had conversations with her and our entire team kind of did, of making sure that she knew there's no expectation that you are replacing or filling shoes of Avery. We didn't need Avery to fill shoes of someone before her. We needed Avery to be Avery, and she was great. And the reason that we were successful last year was because Olivia was Olivia and got to play next to Avery, and Avery was Avery. So kind of making sure that Olivia knew this is not a season or, stats or anything that ride on her. This is always going to be a team sport, the 6 people on the court at any given time, and then our entire bench and all of our coaches. This falls on all of us and not any one individual person. So Liv knew that she was going to take a lot more reps this year and was kind of going to be the person that probably people looked to in those situations, but fully understood that she could do it in her own way. And she did. I mean, she is now, I've finished kind of moving all of them over this morning and looking at like our all-time stats, but she's now the player in Hockaday volleyball history who's played the most sets ever, more than Avery, more than anyone ever. So, I mean, what she did for our program, she was a middle her first 2 years, was recruited to be a middle in college. We came to her last year and said, we think it would be the most beneficial for our team for you to play 6 rotations and take more swings. We also think it could benefit you to go play at the next level and know how to pass and defend, and can make you kind of more versatile. And she took that head on when it might not have been what was best for her recruiting standpoint, for like her personally to take reps away from the position she'll probably be playing in college, but she knew it was best for our team. So so much credit to her for kind of trusting us and trusting me this year and taking that on. But again, not just her, so many people that contributed. Both of our setters did a phenomenal job. Our senior setter, Campbell Truby, is now 3rd all time in Hockaday assists, behind 2 setters that ran a 5-1. And she did not run a 5-1 her entire career here. Most of it actually ran a 6-2. And honestly, that was because she had to be an opposite this year. She had to attack. She was one of our highest hitting percentages on the year and led the team in blocks and was so strong, and is a co-captain with Olivia, and watching her leadership and kind of that develop over the last 4 years has been amazing. Other setter, Ivy Ho, similarly, has never run a 5-1. She's a little bit smaller, but leads all of the setters and kills, the grit that she has, and watching her dump and her serve, all of those things, everything is great. Our libero, Sienna Ebert, is going to be a big name and a high recruit, and asked her to play a defensive system that she'd never really played before, and kind of watching her learn it and buy into it and grow in that this year has been incredibly rewarding. She was a Max Preps freshman All-American last year, and I'm really excited to kind of see what she can do. Having a 5'11" libero who can take up that much space in middle back and is almost at all times the tallest person on the court outside of Olivia, is a lot of fun, and I think not something that most people see at a high school level of volleyball. You take a kid who's 5'11" and make them play 6 rotations, but Sienna's one of the best liberos in the country, I truly believe. So again, just so many are outside who's 5'7", like watching her understand her role, and again, know Liv is not becoming Avery and she's not becoming Olivia. She's allowed to be Mila, and her game is different, and watching her grow in that and understand kind of her strengths and her weaknesses, and watching her grow along the year to culminate in a weekend where we 100% couldn't have done it without her being out there. I fully believe that, and her understanding her role was incredibly beneficial. We played 2 freshmen throughout at the SBC tournament as well, which was really fun. A middle and a DS serving specialist who would probably be the libero on any other high school team. Incredibly talented, but again, they both understood their role. They understood what they needed to do as freshmen, what we were asking of them. They know that their roles will increase next year, and I know they'll be ready for that. But watching them be confident in those matches, and kind of have the trust from their teammates, even though they're freshmen and don't have that SBC experience before, was incredibly fun to watch.
Now, it seems like Hockaday has a reputation, especially this 2-year stretch with the state titles, of scheduling a tough August and non-district, you guys play some of the top, not only TAPS teams, but top UIL schools. I think that earlier this year you were in a tournament with Prestonwood. But those games, just talk about how those games prepare you for the SBC schedule and then the state tournament.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that we have learned over the last 6 years I've been here. Increasingly every year, the schedule's gotten tougher and tougher. I don't have plans to stop that in the future. Although it's becoming increasingly harder to schedule public schools to play us. I know that there's public schools who are starting to have rules against playing private schools, even though our admissions process at Hockaday is very unique. But I think that's been a challenge and is a growing challenge that we'll continue to face. But trying to create the hardest possible preseason schedule has been something that's been really important to the culture of our team for a long time. We first had to make sure that the athletes understood these matches are not ones that we're expecting you to always win. We will win some of them, and that's great. And we're going to do everything we can to do that. But it is not, I kind of found it wasn't beneficial for us to schedule a season where we go 45-0. That's not beneficial for our growth, because at the end of the day, if those teams aren't helping us get better, so that the last 3 matches are all wins, like at the end of the day, what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish is putting another year on the banner in our gym and getting rings for these kids, and winning an SBC title and beating a bunch of schools who aren't kind of at the level that we hold ourselves accountable to playing at doesn't necessarily contribute to that the way that it does to go play the best schools that we possibly can get on our calendar, and lose a lot of those matches. I mean, I think that's evident if you look at kind of our overall numbers for this year. We lost more matches than we have in previous years, but I think that made it so much more rewarding because the kids bought into understanding that we were getting better in those matches still. We were learning things about ourselves. We were still growing in the game of volleyball. And at the end of the day, what we're going to remember is winning SPC or not winning SPC. And like, that is our goal, getting them to understand that that's the goal and that we're going to play tough tournaments and tough preseason opponents and try and schedule some matches like woven into our conference matches to continue to challenge us, is something that's always been a priority for us. Traveling to Durango for the Durango Classic. I mean, that's the most challenging high school volleyball tournament in the country. And I think getting them to understand that our goal is not to go win it. Our goal is to get there and get better and work on our skills. I think we talk a lot about with them as well. There's so many people in our program who are wanting to play at the next level. My job is also to do everything that I can to be sure that we're growing them in a way that they can do that. Winning SVC is important, but also growing them into people and into volleyball players that could play at the next level if they wanted to have that option is incredibly important to me. So getting them in front of that level of talent, in front of those coaches, in front of all of those things is something that I will continue to do, because I'm confident we will always have, there's different, levels on a volleyball team of where people are at kind of skill wise and what they want with their future in volleyball. But I'm confident we'll always have people on our team who are wanting to be playing at the next level. My job, and I take it very seriously, is to be sure that we're doing everything we can to be playing at a level that makes sense for the best athletes on our team to continue getting better. We can't play a schedule that's detrimental to their growth, and need to support them and hope that brings kind of everyone else along the way, which I believe it does.
All right. Well, I can't end the show without obviously, asking about next year. What's the outlook look like? And we're looking at a three-peat.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think the outlook is bright again. Losing key players, but we're used to that. I mean, you lose again, I truly believe the way that the culture of our team is and the way that we expect everyone to be involved regardless of playing time, we are always going to lose key people to our program. Stats, the way that they are leaders on the bench, the way that they lead the program in the locker room, all of those things. Like, we're always going to lose people every year. But I fully believe we played, again, a sophomore libero, a sophomore sixth rotation outside, a freshman middle. a junior setter, a sophomore setter. We have a DS who'd be a bro at other school. I mean, we have what we need to do to get it done. But again, winning means that people want to beat you more. So we always know after a winning season, we have a target on our backs of being a private school who has a successful program and who has sent athletes to play at the next level and who are doing the right thing. So I think regardless of where we go and who we play, people want to beat us, and we know that, and we take that on. I think that next year's group, kind of the funny thing about Hockaday too is like we have no idea who is applying to Hockaday. We have no say in the admissions process. I'm sent an email one day with kind of like the list of the class that was admitted, and then if they indicated that they want to play volleyball or not. So that's the first time that we're finding out, like, is anybody interested in playing volleyball at Hockaday? And so we don't know anything about like what the freshman class would look like, but in terms of like who we have in our program right now, I know that there's people who will be ready to step up. And again, I think it's not going to be easy. This year wasn't easy either, but I told them, and that's something we talked about going into the championship match, is we're going to have to work a lot harder for this one, but I think that's going to make it more rewarding. And I would say now it did. And so I think that's something we'll talk about again next year, is we're going to have to work really hard for this. But the harder you have to work for something, when it happens in your favor, or even when it doesn't, and you gave your all, it's more rewarding. So I'm excited for next August and to see what the group looks like, but sad to lose this group of leaders for sure.
Well, once again, awesome job. Congratulations on the state title, and try and enjoy the off season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, that's Allison Camp, head volleyball coach at the Hockaday School. Again, back-to-back SBC 4A state volleyball champs. And once again, this is an episode of Game Time with the Goss. We appreciate your time and support. Go check us out on YouTube as well as our website, gmsportsmedia.com. I'm Brian Gossett, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.